seconds to go live. Start clapping, please. For governor who have qualified to be on the ballot are together. The debate, hosted by the Brighter Michigan PAC here at the beautiful Royalty House in Warren, Michigan. Now, all 5 candidates agreed to a 1-hour format. It's going to be divided into 4 parts. The candidates will give an opening statement. There'll be a series of questions and answers, and then an open forum where we will engage in a discussion. Candidates can question each other, and it should be an interesting time. And then finally, a closing statement. Now, the only people who know the actual questions would be our panelists. I don't even know the questions. Let me introduce them to you. From the Detroit Free Press, Elrick, and co-founder of 100 Fed Up, Patty McMurray. 100% fed up. All right, let me just caution the audience though, okay, I appreciate the enthusiasm, but we'll hold the applause to the end only because we want to make sure that we can get more answers and clear answers and maximize time. And speaking of that, let's start right now. The speaking order for the opening statement was chosen at random, and the first speaker will be Garrett Soldano. Yeah! All right, go ahead.
You ready?
Go.
My name's Garrett Soldano. You have to go back over 2 years and 3 months on how this started. And it goes all the way back right before April 9th when our governor was telling us what we could and couldn't buy. Remember, you can't buy paintballs. You'll die of COVID. God forbid you touch that gas station pump handle. You'll die of COVID. Now we're dying at the gas pump for a different reason, aren't we? And so like all of you, I was waiting for somebody in a position of authority, an elected official, somebody in a position of power to represent us, to stand up to these unconstitutional lockdowns. And nobody was. And so I started that Facebook group, Michiganders Against Excessive Quarantine, which grew to hundreds of thousands of people in a little under 3 days. So a movement was born literally overnight. So my job as a leader of this movement was to direct this energy, this passion, this frustration into a force to be reckoned with. And that's what we were able to do. We immediately started to hammer down our legislature. We got resolutions through. We got an Unlock Michigan petition done. We have been responsible for recruiting hundreds or thousands of licensed election inspectors. We need leadership now more than ever. We are done with the bought and paid for politicians. We want real, and that's what I'm here to offer.
All right, thank you, Garrett Soldano. Next statement, Rebandt.
Thanks for coming tonight. I just want to give you an update here. Over the last 60 years, we've spent $22 trillion on social programs. Folks, we have sent businessmen and women to Lansing. We've sent politicians, and we have more incarcerations, more broken families. We have more depression and suicides. And I ask you, what's the advantage of that? We need to make a change in Michigan. We have a cultural problem. Every issue that we're going to talk about tonight is indeed, folks, a cultural problem. We will never fix the state unless you fix the city. You will never fix the city unless you fix the neighborhood. And you will never fix the neighborhood unless you fix the family. My 35 years of experience as a pastor has given me unique insight into repairing the family and healing the state. We'd like you to join with us to make Michigan a lighthouse to the nation.
All right, thank you, Rob. Rebandt. All right, next, Tudor Dixon.
Thank you all for being here tonight. I am excited to tell you a little bit about me. If you haven't heard who I am, I come from a steel background, but in 2017, I started fighting for conservative voices, went into the media, and now I'm fighting for you because we saw what happened when our state was shut down by a tyrant governor who refuses to work with our legislature and refuses to see the struggles that Michiganders go through every single day. But as you may have seen earlier today, I was with some of our legislators, and we presented a bill on the steps of the Capitol today to prevent drag queens from going into our schools. We will take this war head on, but we will also fight for family in the state. We will bring our schools back to make sure there is no wrong path for students. We will build our workforce. We will make sure that we highlight skilled trades, and we will treat our businesses like we are happy to have them here. We will be a customer service, family first state here in Michigan.
Thank you, Tudor Dixon. Next, Kevin Rinke, opening statement, please.
Good evening, I'm Kevin Rinke. My family's been in Michigan since the 1700s. And during that period of time, we've seen the greatest that Michigan has offered, and we've seen a decline. And in my lifetime, 61 years, we've seen the greatest decline in the last 3.5 years. Autocracy, government that doesn't work, that doesn't function the way our country set it up to function. I'm an outsider, I'm a conservative, I'm a businessman. And running the state's business is the role of the government. We're going to fix education because education is a critical aspect of business. We're going to fix the tax climate. And I'm the one who has proposed eliminating the 4.25% personal income tax that gives you back $11.8 billion of your dollars because I know that you know how to spend it better than Lansing. It's my privilege and my pleasure to be here tonight, and I'm looking forward to being your next governor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin Rinke. And next, Brian Kelley. Please.
Guys, great to be here with you all this evening in Macomb County. You all know, just like I do, that Michigan's next governor needs to be a fighter. You want to know who's the fighter for the people? Look at the one that the left is trying to silence the hardest. It is very evident with the FBI raiding my house, intimidating me, my wife, my children, my supporters. Want to be very clear with everyone tonight, we will not be intimidated by the radical left. Tucker Carlson had me on his show. The day before Tucker Carlson had me on his show, he mentioned that I was the front runner and talking about how bad Gretchen Whitmer was. And there's polls that have come out recently that have validated what Tucker Carlson was talking about. I don't listen to polls. I follow my principles. If you want a fighter as Michigan's next governor, August 2nd, 33 days from now, vote for Ryan Kelley to take Whitmer out of office this November. Thank you guys for being here.
Second part, Q&A, question and answer. Each panelist will get a question directly. I know the candidate will get a rebuttal. Candidates don't know the speaking order, the pairings, the questions, and the speaking order was all done randomly. Let's start right now. M.L. Elrick, please ask Kevin Rinke a question. 1 minute response. Tudor Dixon gets a 30-second rebuttal. M.L. it's Kevin.
First of all, welcome to all the candidates and good luck tonight. Kevin, Senate Republicans agreed with Democrats to require background checks, red flag laws, and other measures to keep guns out of the hands of potentially dangerous people. Did Republicans in Washington go too far? And what, if any, changes would you make to Michigan's gun laws?
I'm a constitutionalist and I believe in constitutional carry. I'm very concerned because I do not support red flag laws. I think that it allows an opening for government overreach and it eliminates due process. So I would not have approved that law in Michigan. I would have fought against that law. I think the government and Republicans in Washington have gone too far on that law. Certainly, we can all recognize the fact that it's people operating guns that kill people, not guns. And I think there's a distinction. We need to work and make sure that bad guys don't have guns. We need to keep our people safe. And all these onerous laws that violate our Second Amendment need to be put down, because I will support our Second Amendment every single time, just like I support our First Amendment and the right to free speech.
All right, Tudor Dixon, rebuttal.
I will not allow anyone to tear apart our Second Amendment. That is one of our rights. We will protect it, and we do not want red flag laws in the state of Michigan. Doesn't matter what's happening over there in the federal government. We will protect our right to constitutional carry in this state.
All right, Patty, ask Garrett Soldano a question. Ralph Rebandt gets a rebuttal. Okay?
Garrett, Inflation is at a 40-year high, and top economists are warning of a likely recession. Michigan seniors preparing for retirement may be forced to work longer if they watch their 401k shrink. Parents are worried about how they'll feed their families or afford gas. A recent poll conducted by the Detroit Regional Chamber shows the #1 concern of voters in Michigan is inflation, with only 11% saying abortion is a top issue. Yet since the Supreme Court ruling on abortion last week, 20 of 20 tweets by Governor Gretchen Whitmer have been about her fight for abortion. If you're elected as our next governor, what would your top 3 priorities be?
My top 3 priorities are going to be inflation in the economy, our schools, and to make sure that we're investing in long-term energy solutions. Just to go off of what they're doing, we all know what they're trying to do. There's a dumpster fire going on right now in our state and our country, and they're trying to direct all of our energy to one issue, and that's Roe versus Wade. Not with everything that's going on right now. Not on the average of $300 to $600 a month. We're all paying more, and we all. Most of us in this room come from humble beginnings. That's a lot of money, folks. And so if we don't start bringing some foresight and some common sense solutions to governing, we're going to be in hot water. We're already into a recession. We're knocking on the door of a depression. And so what we need to do is, #1, is make sure that no governor can ever weaponize the health department again. We need to get big government's boot off our throat, and we need to lower regulations. We need to start doing a forensic accounting on our budget. I'm not the candidate who's saying up here that we're going to balance the budget. We need to do forensic accounting line by line, and we need to cut that budget every single year to put more money back in your pockets. And the last thing is to invest in long-term energy solutions.
Thank you, Garrett. Ralph Rebandt, come on.
My 3 things that I would be emphasizing is bringing God, #1, bringing God back into culture, bringing back our Judeo-Christian principles. My second thing would be bringing back our Judeo-Christian principles. And my third thing would be bringing back our Judeo-Christian principles. I share that because I challenge everybody on the trail to show me one issue that we face that's not a moral or spiritual issue. That's why we are where we are today.
All right, thank you, Ralph. All right, Patty, another question. Tudor Dixon, a 1-minute answer, and Ryan Kelley, 30-second rebuttal. Patty?
Tudor, many parents are outraged about the materials that are being taught in Michigan schools, from the teaching of sexual orientation or transgenderism to students starting in early grade school to diversity, equity, and inclusion, another name for CRT, that's being taught to students in elementary school. Public schools and some government officials don't believe that parents should have a role in the curriculum selection process. To what extent do you think parents should have a say in their child's education?
Well, I've already called for parents to have a say in their child's education with the Parents' Right to Know Act. So we've called for the Parents' Right to Know Act, which would be in any school, a parent can go to their child's school's website and within 3 clicks get to that child's classroom and see what books are in the classroom, see what books are in the library, and see whether or not they are teaching any type of DEI, CRT, and what the class syllabus says. Every parent has a right to know exactly what is happening in their child's classroom. And that's why you saw me today on the steps of the Capitol also fighting for parents to make sure that we don't have radical attorney generals like Dana Nessel who come out and say we should have a drag queen in every classroom, not be taken seriously because, folks, that is a trial balloon. We are going to take every word they say seriously and make sure that we protect our kids and we stand with parents and parents' rights in education. We will make sure that parents get to know everything that's happening in their child's classroom.
All right, thank you, Tudor Dixon. Ryan Kelley.
Day #1 with Governor Kelley, I signed an executive directive terminating all of the DEI positions across all of our school government. It violates the Michigan Constitution, Article 1, Section 26. Included in that is critical race theory, social emotional learning. Also, what the Supreme Court just did with the ruling out of Maine allows the money to follow the student. I want the legislature to give me a bill to allow us to invest in our students and not the school districts. That way, the parents can put the money where their children will get the very best education. Provide a quality education or go out of business.
Ryan Kelley, and Garrett Soldano gets the rebuttal. Come up.
Brian, if you or another Republican is declared the winner of the governor's race, and Governor Whitmer claims the election is stolen, then calls on Michiganders to go to the state capitol to block the peaceful transition of power, what would you do?
Wow. All right, I help the tables turn, right? We will grab popcorn and we'll watch the entertainment, right? Russia for 4 years, trying to track down everything that was involved with Donald Trump's victory, and we know that was the American people. 2,000 mules, the 2020 election, and we see that they want to silence anybody that asks the questions about wanting to know the truth there. If on the off chance that they want to open their mouth again and put their shoe back into their mouth, we will allow them to peacefully protest and call out their hypocrisy in all different ways. The moment that they want to try to cross the line, we will have the National Guard or the police or whatever go ahead and keep the situation under control. That's an amazing question, and I would love to see that happen to really show what the left is all about.
All right, thank you, Garrett.
Yeah, we know what the left's all about. They constantly burn our cities in protest. And so to piggyback on what Ryan just said, he's right. Look, President Trump wanted the National Guard at D.C. He wanted it. They didn't put it there. All right? So now we got this smear campaign because they're trying to make sure that our next president doesn't run here in 2024. That's what they're trying to do. So they're trying to put all of our energy on that, the big lie. So like any other court case, folks, if there's new evidence that comes to surface, isn't it our responsibility to investigate that new evidence so we can find the truth? Because we all deserve to know the truth. And 2,000 mules did just that.
All right, thank you, Garrett. All right, Patty, ask Ralph Rebandt a question. Rinke, that's the button. Patty?
Okay, Ralph, Michiganders from all political parties have expressed concern over Governor Whitmer's overreaction to the COVID pandemic, especially in comparison to other states. Governor Whitmer was one of the first to shut down schools. She shut down churches, hair salons, gyms, and restaurants while leaving strip clubs and marijuana businesses open. Family members were prohibited from visiting their loved ones in nursing homes over fear of spreading COVID, while at the same time COVID-positive patients were intentionally being placed in nursing homes. Many mistakes were made during the pandemic. What would you have done differently?
I would not be promoting my own personal agenda to become vice president. I would be thinking about the citizens of Michigan. I would be surrounding myself with doctors who are not politicized, but rather who understand what evidence-based medicine is all about. Evidence-based medicine, the highest proof is called randomized controlled trials. That is what stands up in court. That is what wins cases. Governor Whitmer did not even go to that level, nor did she go to the bottom level of expert testimony. She just got her information from newspaper articles in England, and she did not have opportunity to, I'm sorry, I'm mumbling here because I'm looking at those things. I would just be looking at real medicine, real science. She did not do that.
Thank you, Ralph. Rinke,
It's apparent. Gretchen Whitmer knows how to play political science. She doesn't understand medical science. We lost small businesses. We hurt families. We hurt our children. We hurt our seniors. While we were used in a petri dish for her to audition for a position that she thought gave her more power and more sway. She was sworn to protect the people of Michigan, and she broke down on her responsibility.
all right, thank you, Rinke. All right, Emma, ask Ralph another question, and then Ryan Kelley gets the button.
Ralph, some people say they choose abortion because they cannot afford to raise a child without financial and medical support. Critics of welfare say some families have babies to make money from the government. Where do you fall in this debate?
I fall on the side of faith-based organizations coming alongside women and men who are having to make some very difficult decisions. There are groups out here in Michigan. One is called One Life for Life. And One Life for Life, folks, stands out in front of Planned Parenthood, convincing women they should not have a baby, offering to pay for diapers, food, and clothing for the first 3 years of that baby's life. I have a picture on my wall in my office from a gentleman at our church who left his engineering job to go do that very thing. And he has given me this poster that has probably 40 women who have given birth to those little children. So I would not be looking at the welfare system or government to pick up the slack when this abortion issue is over. I would be looking at faith-based organizations to come behind and next to people in their difficult times.
Ryan, question real quick.
Sure. Some people say they choose abortion because they can't afford to raise a child without support, financial and medical. Some people say people have babies so they can get money from the government. Where do you fall on this spectrum?
I've got 30 seconds here. So in the 1960s, the Democrats tore apart the black families, wanting to make the welfare state. And they encouraged fatherless homes, and that very idea that you're talking about has been encouraged, and that's led to a lot of disaster. I believe that we need to be building up communities, and we need to be building up resources to offer to these individuals. Now that Roe versus Wade has been overturned, this is a very real conversation that we have to have. And yes, leaning on the community, because we must always remember that government is the problem, not the solution. We need to lean on our faith communities for that.
All right, thank you, Mike. By the way, Mike, just a little closer next time, okay? That was
Better?
good. Perfect. Not that close. FL Elrick, ask Garrett Soldano a question. Tudor Dixon gets a rebuttal.
Garrett, some Republican gubernatorial candidates want to eliminate Michigan's income tax, which raises $13 billion and accounts for about 2/3 of the state's general fund budget. Where will you find the money to replace this huge chunk of the fund that Michiganders rely on to provide public services?
Well, what we have to do is, just like I said, do forensic accounting. If you look at the population of Michigan over the past decade, 50 out of our 83 counties have lost a total of 100,000 people in population. That's tax revenue. So we need to attract these people and these businesses back to our state so we can increase tax revenue. But if you look at that same graph, our spending is out of control. So what's missing? We are overspending. So we have to do forensic accounting on our budget. We have to go through that, and we have to eliminate the wasteful spending. When we can do that, we can do the things that Kevin Rinke wants to do and eliminate state income tax. It's common sense solutions are what we need. But we can promise all of these things, and if we don't inspire businesses and families to move back to the state of Michigan, we're going to be dead in the water. And that's what we have to do by cutting regulations. We have to make sure that no governor can ever weaponize the health department again. We have to cut our budgets, and we have to invest in long-term energy-dense solutions. If we do that, we'll be competing with the DeSantis of Florida, the Abbotts of Texas, and the Tennessees of the world. That's what we have to do, folks, and I'm the leader to get that done.
All right, thank you, Garrett Soldano. Tudor Dixon.
The legislature has already found a way to reduce it in 2 different ways, and the governor has, of course, vetoed, because she's vetoed more bills than any other governor in the history of the state of Michigan. So we already have a plan to start to phase it out. We're working with the top economists across the nation to phase it out completely, but the best way is definitely to bring families here. Make Michigan the place you want to live, play, and work, right? Make sure Michiganders are bringing other people here, and the best way to do that is make sure you have world-class education, safe cities, and it is affordable to live here, and we will treat business well.
All right, thank you, Tudor Dixon. Patty, please ask Ryan Kelley a question. Kevin Rinke gets a rebuttal. Pat?
Ryan, in 2021, Ford announced it would be moving its electric car production from Michigan to Mexico and building a new mega campus in Tennessee, along with battery plants in Kentucky. Last week, Kelley announced they would move their headquarters from the largest division of the business from Battle Creek to Chicago. If you're elected governor, what will you do to encourage corporations to come to Michigan and convince corporations already doing business in Michigan to stay?
Rolling blackouts coming your way. We know that the nuclear power plant that was just shut down, Consumers Energy wants to shut down all their coal power plants by 2025. We can't even run our air conditioners in our home, let alone attract businesses like manufacturers that need a lot of electricity. We want to become an agreement state here. I would sign for us to become an agreement state, take control of our nuclear energy program, build a robust nuclear energy program so we can provide inexpensive, reliable, cheap, and abundant and clean electricity here for the state of Michigan, which will attract manufacturers, keep them here. Our 6% corporate income tax needs to at least be cut in half, if not be done away with, to attract job creators to the state of Michigan, give them incentives to want to be here, create jobs, create prosperity for Michiganders.
Yeah. I've spent my life creating an environment for the people that I lead to be successful in. Again, we create a tax environment that works. We're going to focus on line 5. It's 3,300 jobs, 33,000 jobs, I'm sorry, $2.87 billion of economic stimulus. We're going to focus on Space Force and bringing specialty aerospace products into Michigan. We're going to focus on artificial intelligence, one of the fastest growing technology fields I know how to create business. At the same time, we're gonna reward the people here that already have a business with that income tax reduction.
Hey, Kevin Rinke, all right, ML, ask Tudor Dixon a question. Ralph, Rebandt gets rebuttal. ML?
Tudor, Michigan faces many harsh realities that require a government who can separate fact from fiction. Local election officials from both parties, Michigan Auditor General, even Republican state senators say election fraud did not occur here. How can Michiganders trust candidates to lead our state who continue to promote the fantasy that the 2020 election was corrupted or stolen?
We're gonna be realistic here, right, and agree that fraud happens in all elections, but in this election, we had a unique situation where we had a Secretary of State who went against the rules, changed the rules at the last minute, and decided to do things that were considered unlawful. So that alone was fraudulent. When you have someone who decides to reduce the signature match after running a campaign, saying, we don't need voter ID because we've got the signature match and that's perfect. And then when you get rid of that, what does that mean, Jocelyn? It looks a little fishy to me. And then on top of that, she sends out absentee ballot applications to everybody in the state. And we got $12 million from Zuckerberg. And guess what? We are the only state in the nation that didn't have any government oversight in that money. So where did it go? Well, let's see. That went to Democrat, that went into a nonprofit, and then was filtered out to Democrat consultants that went out to get out the vote for guess who? Democrats. So was there ballot harvesting? That's pretty hard to find. They have a great system, and it helps when your Secretary of State is willing to do illegal things to help them.
Established what was called the Carter-Baker Commission, and it said there are two ways to steal elections. One is, as Tudor had mentioned, mass mail-out ballots. The other one was lack of signature verification. Those are the very things, those are the playbook that they took to steal our election. I've always been telling people that Antrim County is God's gift to the nation. If 80% Republican county can vote in favor of Biden, that's ridiculous, folks. And we know that was fraud because we know what's wrong.
All right, the last question in this round. Patty asks Kevin Rinke a question. Garrett Soldano gets the rebuttal. Patty?
This is the perfect question as a follow-up. Election fraud remains a top issue with Republican voters in Michigan. The recent 2000 Mules movie, that's been seen over 2 million times, provides credible evidence of widespread voter fraud in 5 swing states, including Michigan. Using geolocation data from cell phones, True the Vote was able to detect over 500 ballot traffickers that delivered an estimated 125,000 illegal ballots in Detroit. Do you believe widespread fraud took place in Michigan in the 2020 election? And if so, what do you think should be done about it?
There's no question that there was election fraud. There's no question that there were election irregularities. The Supreme Court has ruled twice against this administration and the representatives pertaining to this election. We talk about common sense things, voter ID. I jest, you gotta be alive to vote. You gotta be properly registered. In a Rinke administration, we don't veto a law that says it's a felony if you vote twice. In a Rinke administration, we don't veto a law that says you have to clean up the 520,000 plus names on voter rolls that have been inactive for over 20 years. In a Rinke administration, not only do we check signatures, we provide ID because that's what the people want and deserve. It's our responsibility in government to offer a fair, safe, honest, accurate, accessible election, and I'm going to work with Christina to make sure that happens.
Look, they've asked this question in every single debate. Everyone knows our stance on this. So, my goodness gracious, 2,000 mules, there's new evidence. It has to be investigated. If anyone ever interferes with our elections, that's called treason. And they must be accountable and held responsible for as such. That is what needs to happen, folks. Common sense. The legislature already did their job. They already passed common sense election integrity things, and we've been helping these Stand Up Michigan and other grassroots organizations to secure the 22 election by recruiting thousands of licensed election inspectors.
All right, thank you, Garrett Soldano. All right, that concludes the Q&A part of the debate. The next part of the debate, open forum. It'll be a discussion. A panelist will introduce a topic, and any of the candidates can comment, Candidates can question each other if they want, like a give and take amongst the candidates and the panel style. Make sure that no one dominates the discussion. All right, here we go. Patty, please start the discussion.
Sure. Kevin, I want to do a follow-up question regarding the election fraud. The question was, do you believe widespread election fraud took place in Michigan?
Again, I commented, there's fraud, and it occurred in this past election.
Widespread, yes or no?
Why?
Yes or
what-
no?
what is the
Have to be
definition of
widespread to lose the election.
You know, CNN came after me. They said when I came up with my dead Democrats voting, they came after me. And you know what their conclusion was? Dead Republicans vote too. The whole point is this, it's not okay to have inaccurate elections. It's not okay that we have policies that aren't followed by our Secretary of State. It's not okay that people harvest ballots.
Thank you, Kevin. Garrett,
I have a question. Who up here has been doing anything about our 2022 election?
What was
What
that?
have you been doing?
Question?
Because what our movement has been doing is we've been recruiting thousands of licensed election inspectors to get involved. We've been recruiting all these people to make sure our 2022 election is secure. Every speech I give, I do the same thing. There was 11 Democrats for every one Republican that worked the polls. I have never heard you come out and recruit a licensed election
You know what,
inspector.
then you haven't been listening, and we haven't been together, and that's okay. There's 11-1 in every one of my stump speeches. When I bring up election, you know what I say? Get involved. If it's important to you, go out and do something about it. This last election, the Democrats were playing chess while the Republicans played checkers. They're not gonna
Well,
have.
you want to get in on this
I
discussion?
just want,
Hold on, Ralph.
there's two things I want to talk about. One is I want to ask the panel up here, how many of you believe that the widespread election fraud was enough to swing the election toward Biden? Raise your hand. My question is this, how many of you believe that the election fraud was big enough, or to use Patty's words, widespread enough to change, to that Trump should have been rightly elected, but Biden got in? How many of you believe that there was
Who
that
thinks
much?
Trump should have been elected because of the widespread? Is that much?
He's still my president, and when he runs in 2024, he's going to be our president again.
So, Garrett, you asked a very good question. You asked the question, who was involved in the election of November 2020? Who was speaking out against it? Ryan raised his hand. And somebody out there said, Ryan, you have claimed on the trail that you are the only candidate who has stood up against election fraud in November of 2020. Do you remember saying that?
That is correct. Just because you were at the TCF Center with your badge out there doing anything, what'd you do afterwards? Did you stop any of the fraud?
Well, you didn't stop the fraud either, but I will tell you this. Ryan has been telling people he's the only one who's been on the campaign trail in 2020. Folks, I filed an affidavit with President Trump. I filed an affidavit with the legislature. I went a week later, left my tree stand to go to Lansing to have a testimony of what I saw. And so what I'm saying to you today is Ryan has been saying things that aren't true. When he says I am the only candidate who stood up, folks, do your research. That is absolutely not true.
All right.
You were in Alcona County and you said that you wouldn't go attend the Mackinac Policy Conference. You're on video saying that. Did you attend the Mackinac Policy Conference, yes or no?
I did attend that.
Yeah, there you go! You got the lies too, Ralph.
You are raising your voice.
Hold on, let me get Tudor. Let me get Tudor in. I think she wants to say something on this topic.
You mentioned the Mackinac Policy Conference, so Ryan, I just want to ask you, as governor, are you going to tell corporations that what they can and can't do? If a corporation requires someone to wear a shirt and shorts into their operation, are you going to say they can't? Because we are for small government as Republicans. We are for small government. And I don't like government mandates. No one should have a government mandate, but I do not want government in my business telling me how to run my business either.
What makes you ask me that question, I guess?
Because you say that we were all a problem for going to the Detroit Policy Conference because you think they shouldn't be allowed to mandate their private organization. Are you going to demand that you control private organizations as governor? Because I've heard a lot of executive order talk from you, and that's exactly what we should try to get away from.
What kind of restrictions on private enterprise? I think that's the question. Go ahead.
Yeah, great question. Yes, when it comes to vaccine mandates, we will make it so that there is no vaccine mandates across that state. We will not allow corporations to have to discriminate against the people. Yes.
All right, let me get Garrett in real quick.
Look, we don't want government's boot on our neck. We can all agree with that. So if an employer wants to have some type of policy, that's fine. But as your next governor, I'm going to stand for something. We're going to honor your medical waiver. We're going to honor your religious waiver. And what I'm going to tack on is on a philosophical waiver. Because as an American, you have no right to ask me my religion or my health history. You have a choice. That's how you get around with it.
All right, okay, all right, let's.
Charlie, my name was brought out.
Real quick, go ahead.
Ryan said, Ralph, did you not say in Elkhorn County that you were not going, and did you go? And the answer is yes. And the reason why I said no first is because the conference required a vaccine and required proof of vaccine free. And I said I am not going under those circumstances. When they changed the rules for everybody who attended, I said I am going.
All right, good. You talk.
There are some Republicans who are concerned that the chance for the party to win the governorship, the Attorney General's seat, and the Secretary of State is going to be jeopardized because there's so much talk about 2020. There's not enough about 2022. Do you share those concerns? What would you say to those people?
I think you've seen a lot of us focusing on what the state needs to do to get ahead. And right now, the state is suffering in areas of education, in workforce, and when the state is killing business. And if you were on the trail following the candidates, you would hear that, especially from me, you would hear that I am here for parents, I am here for business. We have big problems in the state. COVID exposed those problems. We have to look at some of the good things that came out of COVID and seeing how Gretchen Whitmer treats business, this heavy hand. This comes down from her entire bureaucracy. We have agencies, whether it is the environmental agency or licensing agency, that is driving business out of the state, which is hurting all of our families. So we are focused on making Michigan family
All right,
friendly.
let's get Kevin Rinke. I think you look like you want to get in on this.
I think it starts, and I say it everywhere I go.
And
It's about having an environment for people to be successful in. It starts with education, and it needs to be fixed. We have the fastest falling education in America. We currently rank 47. It starts with a business environment and a tax environment that's favorable. That's why I called for the elimination of the personal income tax. There's 9 states that don't have personal income tax. All 9 grew during COVID economically. All 9 grew in the number of citizens.
Hold on.
Finish, Charlie. We talk about states like Florida. We talk about states like Texas. We talk about states like Tennessee. We talk about states like Nevada and Wyoming, and they're kicking Michigan's butt. And it's going to stop under a Rinke administration. And it starts with having the right tax structure and the right business structure. And I don't think there's anyone in here.
Let me get Garrett.
I forgot what the question was.
I know what the question is.
Why don't you change it up this time?
I'm listening, I had the answer.
Some stuff.
Kevin, you're talking about 2022. Do you think your opponents are talking too much about 2020? And then Ralph wants to get in on that.
I want to get on that. If there was a bank that was robbed, and we knew that it was robbed, and we said, well, let's just put up some camera, let's put a few security guards at the door, and we'll forget about it. That would be ludicrous. I'm in law enforcement. The chiefs of police have endorsed me. That's ludicrous. You have to investigate. And so just to say we have now cameras over drop boxes and we've got more people in there, we have to go back and prosecute, because if we don't prosecute, we will never get this thing fixed.
So, I mean, this is going to apply not only to the election, but basically what you do in 2020. I think that's what we need to understand and know, is we need leadership. Now, Ryan and I may not agree on our approach and everything, but I respect Ryan the fact that he has been there ever since the beginning, standing up for all of us. And so my question is to the other 3 candidates. You guys are all talking a big game right now. You truly are. And you're giving a bunch of lip service. But what the hell is
tell you what I did. I'm tired of this story that you guys tell. Well, I'm the only one that stood up. I counseled the people that Whitmer locked down who were suicidal. I counseled police officers and their children. Just because you didn't see me at that point standing up when I'm doing chaplain ministry, serving the people of the state, you cannot stand there and say nobody
Ryan,
else
let me get you
did.
get out of here. You said, are you getting lip service, Ryan?
I didn't say Ryan was giving lip service.
Who's giving lip service? Tudor's giving lip.
He's applying
To
Emmy
address
on
the
me.
question, you asked if we are going to be losing credibility from the governor's seat, the attorney general seat, and the secretary of state seat by talking about 2020 too much. We have all been speaking out about a broad array of issues. And yes, we do continue to bring 2020 up. And you know what? The left is continuing to push further and further left. They're talking about they don't even know how to define a woman nowadays, okay? So they've gone so far off the rocker, we are focused on reality. And I think that's going to resonate with a heck of a lot more people. You know, Patty, you gave a statistic talking about 11% of people, they only care something along the lines of that about abortion. Now, you know, the big topics are the inflation, the gas prices, and the food prices. It is not January 6th. It is not about.
Tudor, real quick, want to say something on this topic?
I started fighting for conservative causes years ago. We started a company in 2017 to go into middle and high schools and fight against CNN 10 in our middle and high schools. We created a program to show kids how great America is, to show kids jobs, and I've been fighting for conservative voices ever since. And so when these guys were out there doing their protests, I was making sure it was broadcast nationwide.
All right, Charlie, I'm sorry, Charlie, please, 10 seconds. I was serving the citizens of this state when these guys were in diapers.
Okay.
All right?
All right, Patty, you got it.
I gotta say something real quick. This is what everybody came here to see tonight, and this is what we need. So thank you guys. Let's keep it up.
Patty, you got it.
The next question is for everyone. By show of hands, how many of the candidates have openly endorsed Matt DePerno for Attorney General or Christina Grama for Secretary of State?
I'll go first on that. I endorsed Matt and Christina before the state convention, and I was out there with them at state convention promoting that. I was even told that I lost a couple of votes because of that, because other people supported Tom Leonard. Enough of that nonsense. Come out and support who you support and stand and fight for them.
I took a different approach because in the beginning, when we first announced, the establishment got around James Craig, who is no longer with us. And that was garbage because the Michigan GOP should be staying out of the race and allow we the people to determine who we want to have represent us at all levels of office. So I made a vow that I would stay on the races because I didn't want to contribute to the races. But obviously they have my full support, and I know they're going to do great because we need to get rid of the terrible three. And I say vote the O's. Corona, DePerno, Soldano.
Yes, we have also seen how it's hurt candidates when other candidates come in. Candidates should be running their own races, but we are so supportive of our wonderful Secretary of State and Attorney General candidates.
Okay, Kevin?
I respected the people at convention. There's a process. And as soon as they were elected, I was right there shaking their hands. The people have spoken. And as your next governor, I'm going to lead the party with them to a better Michigan.
All right.
And looking forward to it.
Ralph?
I supported them before the convention because I have good taste and I know who can lead the state. So I was in favor of both Christina and Matt, and I'm on record as supporting such.
Just do the topic.
The Supreme Court, in its abortion ruling, at least one justice indicated that the Supreme Court may be open to reviewing other precedent and possibly undoing laws that allow same-sex marriages, making sodomy illegal. Do you think that's judicial overreach, and how do you stand on those positions?
They need to revisit the law. And that's one thing as Christians.
But specifically on those issues.
Well, let's get to the persecution of Christians right now, because of what we stand for, and we're telling that we're homophobic and we're racist and all this other garbage. And so in my Catholic religion, marriage is defined as a man and a woman. And so I have no problem because I have people in the LGBTQ community that are family members and I love them just as much as I love everyone else. But if they want to have the same benefits as what a marriage is, then I wish they would have respected my religion and called it something else with the same things that they get with being a married couple.
But if they can't get married, that makes it tough, right?
Well, you can call it something else and allow them to it, a union, whatever they want to call it. But my Catholic faith defines it as a man and a woman. That's it. My belief. Does that make it right or wrong? That's my belief. But I shouldn't be getting persecuted for my belief in my religion. And that's what's happening.
The Supreme Court decisions that are coming out recently are very powerful, and what they're doing is they're giving a lot of power back to the states, which is where it belongs in the first place, right? That was the decision that overturned Roe versus Wade, and it wasn't about abortion as much as it was about giving the power back to the states. And I believe that the federal government, the Supreme Court needs to start rolling back a lot of those things and give the power back to the states where it belongs. Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution lays out the job description of the federal government. Now, on these issues specifically, the Michigan Constitution defines a marriage between one man and one woman. And that is my belief also. And I think that there are many people that they want to be able to, sleep with whoever they want to, and that should be their right. That should not be pushed on our children. That should not be made into mainstream and pushed in our schools through this transgender LGBTQ.
Okay, let me just one more time, that's all. Do you want to add in or Captain Ralph, anybody?
I do.
Go ahead, real quick.
Yeah, I tell people because of my love for the Lord and my understanding of marriage from the scriptures, I tell people that I am not running for the judge of the universe, I'm running for the governor of Michigan. And we have, as was mentioned, Article 1, Section 25 of our Constitution, Michigan Constitution, says that for the betterment of society, marriage is between a man and a woman. I draw the line where God does, and that's where I stand.
Captain, real quick.
I just have to say, my partner is my wife.
All right, who's talking, Patty?
I'd like to get your thoughts on forcing college students to be vaccinated as a condition to attend some taxpayer-funded colleges in Michigan.
Hot garbage.
I believe that was a mistake.
Absolutely wrong.
No government mandates, certainly not at our schools, no way, not our kids.
I would have froze funding to those schools.
I would have cut funding.
Absolutely wrong.
I'm not only going to freeze funding, but I'm going to remove funding for our colleges and universities from the budget. There's way too much money. But on this particular issue, folks, let me tell you this. When it was asked, hey, what did you do in 2020? I was signing religious exemptions for college students, for doctors and nurses, even for people in the military. As a pastor, I was doing that because I stood up for them.
It's my understanding that everyone on the panel opposes abortion, and if I'm wrong, please correct me, but are there exceptions that you would support for rape, incest, life of the mother? I believe the 1931 law only makes an exception
For the life of the mother. Yeah.
What exceptions, if any, would you support as Michigan?
I'll support that 1931 law, exactly what you said. Life of the mother, that the baby can't come out via C-section, but it's at the moment of conception.
Anybody, Jamie?
And I got crucified on The View for saying that. Who watches The View in here? Thank God Whoopi was on suspension. That's all
I think we've already answered all of these questions, and I think a lot of us have some of the same standpoints. I think we should be asking more difficult questions that kind of contradict.
I agree.
That would only take 10 seconds.
Yeah, for sure. 1931 law is great, but there's very few instances where the mother's law life would need to be saved. Very, very few instances ever.
Anybody?
I follow a candidate that said that I followed the same position as Ronald Reagan and Donald J. Trump. Life of the mother, rape, and incest. That's my position.
Ralph, real quick.
Real quick,
Yes. Okay, sorry.
All right, real quick, here's I have absolutely no exceptions. And the reason why is because when a mother is under duress and that pregnancy is questionable, she does not go, listen, she does not go to an abortion mill. She goes to the hospital. And the doctors try to save both lives. That's what happens. So I have no exceptions. But I have one quick question that we've never answered. This would help you guys, the whole group, find out where we all stand. Who believes that at conception, there's a person at conception? Raise your hand if you believe at
That's
conception.
the science, guys, that's the science.
You know, Rinke, that's
I just want to say that I am pro-life. I received the right to life endorsement. I am pro-life with the exceptions for life of the mother.
Do you believe that?
Please let her answer. Let her answer, go ahead.
I am pro-life with exceptions for life of the mother, but I think that this is such a huge opportunity for the state of Michigan because as we see corporate America saying that they're going to fly people out of the state to have abortions, we are calling on corporate America to come around family and say, we will pay for your health care to have that baby. We will pay for child care to support working moms. Instead of Gretchen Whitmer who says, when Roe v. Wade came into play, women could finally work and have their own businesses. Women can work and have their own businesses with family, and we support that.
All right, I'll leave it.
Gretchen Whitmer has been one of the most divisive governors in Michigan. In 2012, Whitmer, who was a senator at the time, bragged about, quote, opening the doors to the Capitol, end quote, to let angry protesters inside where lawmakers were voting on the highly contentious right to work legislation. Yet today, Gretchen Whitmer calls citizens who protest over election fraud at the U.S. Capitol insurrectionists. If you are elected governor, what will you do to heal the political divide in our state?
Friends, I've been counseling married couples who are at odds with one another, ready to kill each other, ready to go to divorce court, and they have come together. I've counseled parents and children. I've counseled businesses whose difficulty where children inherit something from mom and dad, the two sons of them.
We've got to do about time, about a minute left over here.
We're having fun.
I know you're having fun. Go ahead, okay.
Yes, I think it is time for us to come together for common sense solutions for this state. It's so important that we make sure that we have choice in education. And right now, we have an opportunity to reach across the aisle and have parents come together and have a choice and dollars follow the child.
Well, in the interest of time, we kind of know the answer. How do you differ on that topic? Garrett?
We're not the ones dividing this nation right now. They are. And that's one thing right now that's happening. The only thing that's happening right now is everyone is walking away. Our grandparents, our parents' Democratic Party does not exist anymore. And people are coming over. There is 1 million, I think, new Republican voters now. And it's not going to be a red wave. It's going to be a red tsunami.
Right. Are you saying that Gretchen Whitmer is an insurrectionist? Is that what you said? I mean, that's what I heard. Look, we find unity in our country by respecting our United States Constitution, by respecting freedom and liberty, and we will not negotiate with these big government communists. Not going to happen.
10 seconds.
Yeah, Gretchen's a hypocrite.
All right, that's it. That's it for this open forum. Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that. All right, closing statements now. We were going to go in an order that was picked before the debate. Garrett Soldano, 1 minute closing, please.
That's what we're looking for right now is leadership. Somebody that's going to unite the party, unite the people, and bring people from the other side to our side with conversation. We also need a fighter. We need somebody that's been battle hardened against Governor Whitmer. And guess what? I am. I've been holding her accountable for the last 2 years and 3 months nonstop. I've been out there jeopardizing my life, my family's life, my business, my license as a doctor for the people, not because of a political career or political agenda. It's time for ordinary people to do extraordinary things. And that's what I'm going to bring to the table. I will continue to inspire and motivate Michigan's greatest asset, and that is the people, to get things done. And that's what we have been able to accomplish as a movement, not only getting rid of that 1945 law, but getting local communities involved, getting people to run for school boards, city councils, city commissions, recruiting licensed election inspectors. Our movement with the right leadership is already getting things done. I'm not up here giving you lip service. I'm up here actually doing it. I'm Garrett Soldano, and I am your next governor.
Folks, I've been saying for the last year, and I'm not giving lip service to anything, I have 35 years of history standing up for truth. And as I look at what I've been saying, and as people have heard me say, if we don't get God right in this next election, nothing will matter. Friends, I say that because God has given us rights and liberties that the left is trampling. If they don't come from God, anybody can take away what you have. God has raised every one of you up for this moment in time. The house is on fire. We need to each bring our bucket, whatever we can, bring our bucket to that fire to put it out. Folks, I want you to think about this phrase as you walk out the door. End the disaster, vote for the pastor.
Tudor Dixon.
This is a pivotal year for the state of Michigan because this governor has done so much damage to the state. So we need to get in there and work with the legislature. And I have already been working with the legislature on important bills. First and foremost, let's protect our kids, and that's what we were able to do today. Let's make sure we bring back education, and let's make sure business succeeds in this state. We are on the verge of losing our legacy industries. You saw this happen with Kellogg's. You've seen this happen with Ford. We have to change the way we treat our citizens and our businesses in this state, and we can come together across the aisle and make sure that Michigan thrives again. Make sure that this is the place, as I said before, that you want to live, play, and work. And I am excited to work alongside all of you and serve you as your governor. So I ask you that I would please earn your vote and you would let me serve you as the next governor of Michigan.
So in our lives, when we contribute to our communities and our state, there is a time to learn. There is a time to earn, and there's a time to serve. My time to serve is now. I'm not part of the establishment. I don't pander to it. I'm a businessman. I'm not owned by anyone. I can do the right things for the people of Michigan, just like I did it for my employees, just like I did it for the millions of customers that we serve, just like I'll do it for you. Remember when they said, what's he going to do, wave a wand? It was about not understanding leadership. And Donald J. Trump showed leadership. Kevin Rinke is going to show leadership for Michigan. And I only win when you win. That's my litmus test. Yes, I'm putting forth my personal funds, but more importantly, I'm giving something back to you that I can never get back. My time.
All right.
I love this state. I love the people of Michigan, and I look forward to your support.
Kevin, thank you, Kevin. All right. Ryan Kelley.
John Adams said, always stand on principle, even if you stand alone. I stand alone on this stage today, and yes, I'm going to bring up the Mackinac Policy Conference again. Because at that Mackinac Policy Conference, the Detroit Chamber wanted everyone to show their vaccine identification cards or take negative COVID tests as a way to enter, except for the governor's debate. They segregated them. They moved them outside in a tent. They treated these other governor candidates like second-class citizens in order to come up there and debate. And I said no. I said no to vaccine mandates. I stood my ground. TV cameras were up there. I passed on the TV cameras. God had a funny way. The FBI shows up, lots of national attention from there. If you're looking for someone that's standing on principle, somebody that's going to fight for us, no matter what the cost, on August 2nd, 33 days from now, vote for Ryan Kelley to make Gretchen Whitmer a one-term mayor.
Let's give a big round of applause to all of the candidates. This debate on Governor Fox 2 and the Plain Michigan path. Remember, voting takes place right now, and of course, you can vote on election day on August 2nd.